Okay, Chris, we got to get right into it. How are you cursed? Tell us what happened, and are you okay?
I'm okay now. I didn't want to talk about it until the curse was broken, but my family and I have been in the clear now for a few international trips.
Okay, good.
But it was rough there for a little bit. Hey, I'm Chris.
And I'm Katie.
Welcome to the Upgraded Points Podcast.
Today we are talking about Chris's flight curse, my trip to Utah, glamping on points, and some summer travel tips. If you're enjoying the show, please like and subscribe on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you have questions for the show, you can email us at podcast@upgradedpoints.com. Okay, Chris, we got to get right into it. How are you cursed? Tell us what happened, and are you okay?
I'm okay now. I didn't want to talk about it until the curse was broken, but my family and I have been in the clear now for a few international trips.
Okay, good.
But it was rough there for a little bit. So between myself, my wife, and including a family trip with my wife and two kids, we had 3 overnight international flights canceled after we'd gotten to the airport.
Oh gosh, no.
Yeah. And I can't even blame one airline or one situation. It was 3 different airlines, American, Delta, and United. 3 different airports, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, and New York. And all for different reasons, but they were all the airline's fault. There was no weather. There was nothing. It was mostly mechanical. And they were 3 trips in a row. So we really felt like we were cursed for a couple minutes there.
You should be good for the rest of the year then if you got this all out of your system
Yeah.
now.
I'm good. I want all the good luck now. I got all my award alerts set.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping this will translate into a Japan trip later on. No, but I'll talk about the worst one first, which is actually the best. But the worst one was when I was with my wife and 2 kids. So there's 4 of us there. And we were flying United Polaris from Washington, D.C. to Sao Paulo. And we had booked a positioning flight, so we got to D.C. early. And we had checked in. We were in the Polaris Lounge. We were having drinks and getting ready for our overnight flight. And my wife gets a text message saying, "Here's your voucher for your hotel room." And we're like, "Oh, that's weird." And then I look at my phone and I had a voucher as well. So there was some mechanical issue with the plane. It wasn't going to leave till the following morning. I went over to the desk just to chat with them, but United's system is awesome. You could do everything on the app. So I didn't even really need to talk to anyone. But if I wanted to switch my flight to do something, I could have. But since we were already in the lounge, we just had dinner in the Polaris Lounge. Everything was on the app, so they gave us dinner vouchers for 4 people. And since we were flying business class, they were more than the coach tickets. So I think we each got $25 for dinner and then $25 for breakfast the next day. They gave us hotel rooms at the airport as well. When we got to the hotel, they offered us 4 hotel rooms because there's 4 of us in business class. And obviously we didn't need that. We did take 2. My kids loved having a connecting room, so that was fun. And then we went back to the airport the following morning and had breakfast in the Polaris Lounge again. And that was great. We had all these vouchers. We had about $200 in vouchers that we couldn't use. Well, we didn't use because the Polaris Lounge is better than any airport food. So what you can do, they're really just temporary credit card numbers. So I just uploaded them all to my Starbucks account. So I got $200 in Starbucks gift cards.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah. So that was great.
That's a gem right there.
We've been using those Starbucks gift cards at Disney. So we've been eating breakfast at the parks thanks to United. So we finally board this flight, and then we board it, and it gets delayed another hour and a half on the ground. And all I could think of was how grateful that we were flying in business class, because had we been flying in coach, we would have been eating at the airport, those $20 vouchers. We would have had, less options for hotels. There were cheaper options for hotels. We got a better one. And then we would have been stuck inside the plane in economy during this whole delay. And then on a day flight instead of an overnight flight. So overall, it was tough. But what made it worse is when we get to Sao Paulo, and because of that delay, we missed our connection to Rio. That was our final destination. Thank goodness we booked all in one ticket, which is not always the case. They were waiting for us at the gate with our vouchers for our hotel. So they took us took us in a taxi right to another hotel and then put us on the flight the next morning with another. They gave us a lot of vouchers. It was like,
So you had to spend the night again
again,
in Sao
yeah.
Paulo? Oh
We
my
got to we
gosh.
got to the airport at like midnight. There were just no more flights
Yeah.
available. There's nothing, no one to argue with. It's just not possible to go anywhere. So we stayed in another airport hotel. The kids were great, thank God. They rolled with the punches. Went to the hotel. They gave us dinner. Went back to the airport the next morning. We had like $600 reais. It's different, like $100 in vouchers. These vouchers were paper vouchers. I couldn't add them to anywhere. So I was in line at Starbucks at the airport in Sao Paulo, and I just said, "Hey, who wants anything?" I just paid for the entire line's breakfast because I had $600 worth of vouchers that
That's
we were
awesome.
not going to use. Yeah, so
Everyone appreciates your flight getting messed up.
I was working on my good karma. I was trying to get it back. Didn't work because the following two flights also got delayed. I was flying back from Atlanta to Rio, and mechanical issues at midnight, and it wouldn't get fixed till 9 in the morning. So we had to stay over in the airport. We mentioned this in a previous episode, and I stayed at the Minute Suites in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And then my wife, flying back New York to Rio, took off. She was in the air. I was tracking her on flight radar, and the flight returned. Mechanical issue. They landed. It was like 1 a.m. in New York. No one at the desks. The one woman that was there was in a terrible mood. My wife got sent out to Long Island for the night to sleep, and I ended up chatting with the AA team on Twitter, and they got her set up on a better flight to Rio. So it ended up working fine. Silver lining in all this, we did get some compensation. United was far and away the best. Before we even landed, I had 4 emails, one for each passenger, apologizing and offering $650 travel credits. Awesome.
Yeah.
Delta, they didn't really care that much. They reimbursed me for the Minute Suites, and then sent, I think it was like 3,000 Sky Miles. And my wife got, yeah.
Don't spend those all in one spot, Chris.
Sky Pesos. And then my wife got 7,500 American Airline miles. So, I mean, we obviously would have preferred not to have the issues, but those were 3 flights in a row. So we honestly thought we were cursed for a little bit, but no, we've been back and forth a couple times now, and we are good.
I'm glad that you are not cursed anymore, and I wish you nothing but perfectly on time, wonderful flights for the rest of the year.
I
You've had
appreciate it.
enough headaches so far. Oh
Yeah.
man, that I've never been on one of those where it gets turned around in the air, and I've
Oh,
got to imagine that is just soul crushing.
yeah. I was tracking her, and I was just about to go to sleep, and it pings. It says new destination,
Oh
and it
no,
said JFK. I was like, oh, that can't be
like that's
good.
not right.
Yeah. And then I couldn't
Oh
really
man.
talk to her for like another 45 minutes till she actually landed too, to
Mhm.
figure out what was going on. But yeah, not
Oh man.
ideal.
Well, I'm glad it's over. I'm glad everything's good. Well, that was way more dramatic than my recent travels.
Good.
Thankfully, my recent trip went just smoothly, which was great. I actually just got back from Utah. In the middle of nowhere, Utah, I was invited to a resort called Ofland Escalante. And it is
Sounds fancy.
yeah, it's a glamping resort
Mm,
down in southern Utah, really close to the national parks. This is in the Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument, and it's less than an hour to Bryce Canyon National Park. I think it's about 2.5 hours to Zion. So really close to all of those wonderfully gorgeous national parks out there where you're not going to find a Grand Hyatt out there. So I was really excited to try this. This particular area of Utah is well known for their slot canyons. So we did some hiking in slot canyons,
I
which
saw your pictures on Instagram.
were
Looks incredible.
totally magical, kind of terrifying. I'm really glad that I did not know what I was getting into before I got into it. So, like, before you go into the hike to get to the slot canyons, there's this, like, I don't even know what you call it, like a measuring post. And it kind of says, like, if you can fit through this, you're going to be okay. And
Oh
I thought
my.
they were being dramatic. No, they were not. Like, I stood in this, and I'm not a huge person, and I didn't have much wiggle room.
I saw your photo. I
Um,
didn't really understand. I thought it was a height thing. No, that was a width.
No, no, it was a width thing. That was as narrow as the canyons got. Wow. Like, it was bananas in there. So gorgeous, though. I mean, just such a cool experience to go through these slot canyons, and it's one of those moments where you're just kind of amazed that this is on our planet, and it's just so gorgeous and so cool. We had wonderful guides that helped us through. We had a large group with varying levels of hiking ability, and they got everyone through, even through some, like, very precarious situations where they're, like, telling us where to put our feet, where to slide down. They got everyone through
It's
great,
pretty
and
serious.
it was, but it was a really cool experience. If that's something someone's interested in, this is the place to do it.
Hmm.
And so I stayed at this resort called Ofland Escalante, and they have cabins, they have sort of traditional campsites, and they have those vintage Airstreams. And I stayed in a deluxe cabin, which is the only type of accommodation at this particular resort that has a private bathroom. And that is as close to camping as I get. I was not about to try any of the ones without private bathroom. I'm not that kind of girl. But the deluxe cabin was really nice. It was really comfortable. Plenty of space. I think a queen size bed, a little couch, a little sort of kitchenette area with a sink, and mini fridge and coffee. We had a private bathroom, and then the shower was outside. I love an outside shower. I've never had an outside shower when it's the only option. And as cool as this was, it had a heater, which was great. And a we did notice the cabins had tankless water heaters, so you never ran out of hot water, which is
Hmm.
very nice. But at the time, this was in early April, and it can still get a little chilly. So
Yeah.
at night and in the morning, it wasn't ideal shower weather. I mean, it got down, I think, one night to like 30 degrees. So not ideal for if you want to take a shower early or late at certain
Hmm.
times of the year. But it was really lovely shower, really nice. Very cool setup. They had a food truck for breakfast and dinner right on the property. Then they also had at their general store, you could buy DIY meal kits. So every cabin had their own little fire plate or fire pit. And then there were some community fire pits you could use if you didn't want to make your own fire. So you could buy these kits that had, steak or chicken, vegetables, bread, everything you needed. You could cook your meal right there. So that was kind of cool. There was a drive-in movie theater that had old classic cars like
That's
set
so
out
cool.
to be the chairs. So that was really
So you got
neat.
to go inside the cars to watch the
Yeah, you
movie.
did.
Oh,
Of
nice.
course, the night that I went to go see the movie, which happened to be my favorite movie in the entire world, it was packed, and I didn't get there early enough, so I
What's the
missed out.
movie? What's your favorite movie, Katie?
Top Gun.
Oh, nice. Have you seen the new one? Or are you
Of
talking about the
course.
okay.
Of course.
The new one's so good. I
Oh, I
watch it
love the new
almost
one
every
too. We
flight.
could we could have a whole nother episode about that. But it was a very cool setup that they had. There was a pool, there was a hot tub, there was an open air lodge with fire pits and heaters. So even when it was chilly, it was really pleasant. There was coffee in the morning. It's just a really cool experience, something very different for me. It's not a typical place that I would pick. So I was really
Hmm.
excited to go check it out. And it was really highly recommend if you're in that area. There's a lot of cool places. We also went to a restaurant called Hell's Backbone. I think it was in Boulder, Colorado. If
Mm-hmm.
I might be mistaken there. I apologize to the Hell's Backbone people, but it was a really great restaurant, maybe half an hour or so away from the Ofland Escalante Resort, but just a really cool area with lots of great hiking and really beautiful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of glamping, Katie, you're not alone in this latest trend of getting out to the wilderness, but also being comfortable.
Mhm.
Some of our favorite hotel brands are also getting in on this deal. Uh, Hyatt is out right now with a new promotion for Under Canvas.
Mhm.
You can earn 20x points, 20x total
Ooh.
points on every dollar you spend at Under Canvas. And for those who are not familiar, that is Hyatt's new glamping brand. So if you want to travel like Katie and get outside your comfort zone, but without being
Not too
uncomfortable,
far.
yeah, not too far.
Not too far.
Hyatt's got an option for you. You just need to register by June 10th, travel between June 1st and September 7th. And that's a pretty good one. But that's not the only one, right, Katie?
No, no. Hilton has an exclusive relationship with AutoCamp. And AutoCamp, again, they're looking to make nature more accessible without sacrificing comfort. There are 7 locations currently, and a lot of them are around national parks, again, in these types of areas where there aren't traditional hotels available. And there are 2 that are coming soon. So you've got Asheville, North Carolina. Reservations are starting for September 1st. That's a brand new location. Cape Cod, Massachusetts, the Catskills, Hill Country in Texas. And that is a brand new, not open yet. We don't have details yet or an opening date. So that will be coming at some point. And in California, you've got Joshua Tree, Russian River, Sequoia, and Yosemite, and then Zion in Utah, which was probably a couple hours from where I was. So that would be a great location as well. The Sequoia location is the newest one. It just opened in March, and that is like 15 minutes from Sequoia National Park. So it's a great option if you want to do some hiking and visit the national park.
Nice.
I was curious about pricing on these. So I looked before we started recording. And of course, it varies wildly based on which location and time of year, as
Yeah.
I'm sure you would assume. But like at the Cape Cod location, I was finding days for the summer under $200, which is a great price. But then on the flip side, that Yosemite location, I was finding plenty of nights that were over 500. So not necessarily for budget travelers. It's
All
for
right.
those travelers who want nature but don't want to be uncomfortable. And then you can book these with Hilton points, which is a great option, a cool way to use your points for something a little bit different. And I was seeing prices that were ranging from like 60 to 75,000 points per night. Our fantastic senior editor, or one of them, Stella, actually traveled to the AutoCamp Zion location for New Year's, I believe, and she wrote a full review. So we will link to that in the show notes. It's on upgradedpoints.com, and she did a great write up taking you through all of the details and amenities for that property. So if it's something that you're curious about, definitely pull up that review. It'll give you a great idea of what one of these types of locations is like.
That is so the AutoCamp, those are the stream, what are they called? The
Yeah, those are those vintage Airstreams. So
Airstreams, yeah.
there's kind of an area, the resort area with different vintage Airstreams, and then I think there's like a central lodge with I forget what she said about food. You'll have to read the resort, but I assume it's similar to the one I was in, where different campsites are set up, and then there's a central area with a store and a restaurant or some type of a food option.
Yeah, I've had my eye on that Cape Cod one for whenever I'm back in Boston. It's like Cape Cod's obviously a big popular destination, so it's just a matter of time, sneaking down there and getting into one of those Airstreams without breaking the bank.
Yeah, definitely. The kids would probably love it too. And I don't have a dog, but I think they're dog friendly. Stella brought her dog, so it's a great option if you want to travel with your pup.
That's cool. It's not just Hyatt and Hilton. Marriott also got in the game recently. They just acquired Postcard Cabins. So Katie, I'm not sure how familiar you are with all of these, but you are now the resident camping expert, glamping expert.
That is
Like it
something
or
I should
not.
not be. I should not be.
All right, if you had to choose AutoCamp or Under Canvas, what would you choose?
Okay, so I looked at some of those under canvas locations and they looked really cool and really nice, but I would have to go with AutoCamp in this situation because I like walls and I staying in one of those vintage Airstreams seems much more exciting to me than staying in a tent. No matter how cool and fancy the tent is, it's still a tent.
Mm-hmm.
So if I were booking one, I would definitely choose the Hilton Auto Camp because I like the solid walls between me and nature. What about you? Do you have an opinion?
I don't know. I've never been in an Airstream, but they look super cool. So that would be my first vote.
Well, that's a great way to use points. It's a new way to travel, and I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot more about that because it is such a big trend in the travel industry right now. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to talk about some summer booking tips. The next segment mentions the Chase Sapphire Preferred 100,000 point welcome offer. Well, after we recorded the episode, the offer expired. So while the ways that you can use those points that we discuss here are still valid, the current welcome offer has been reduced. It's still an awesome card that we love, but you'll want to check to see what the welcome offer is whenever you're listening to or watching this episode. So with that out of the way, let's jump back into the show.
All right, welcome back. Now we're going to talk about summer booking tips for your upcoming trips. Katie, What do you think are the best cards for last minute summer redemptions?
Okay, so I was thinking about this a little bit, and if you're in the situation where you have some maybe late summer travel that you want to book, but you don't have the points yet, you're starting from zero. What would be some good card options? So I have a couple of suggestions. First one is the Capital One Venture cards, and what I like about these is not only are they super easy to use, you're going to earn 2 points per dollar on every purchase. So these are those just you don't have to think about them cards, and I really do like that. But you can use the cards to book travel, and then as you earn those points, you can use those points to erase the travel charges as long as it's been within 90 days. And that is just such an awesome way to keep your costs low. You don't have to think about it much. You don't have to plan. You don't have to look for award availability or book anything. You can just pay for whatever travel it is as long as it codes as travel. And that is a pretty wide category, anything from hotels to flights, rental cars, even, Disney tickets in some
Yeah,
instances, depending
theme
on where you
parks.
book, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
So, Capital One Venture cards are a great option if you want some points to book some travel pretty close in. Another option is one I'm gonna caveat by saying if you're brand new to points and miles, this is probably not the card that you wanna start with, but I had to mention it because it's a great deal for the people who are going to be able to use the points, and that is the American Airlines Aviator Red Card.
Hmm.
This is a cool card because you can earn 60,000 points right now at the time of recording after you make one purchase and pay the $99 annual fee. That means you can
That's
get this
fun.
card. I know. You can buy a pack of gum, you can pay the $99 annual fee, and you'll get 60,000 American Airlines miles. I personally love that program. I think those miles are easy to use. I think they're valuable, and it's one that I have this card. I've had this card a couple times. So it's a great option if you've got some flights coming up that are gonna be on American. You can get this card now and have points relatively soon to book for that late summer travel. And I will say, it does take a minute. This card is not quick with having the annual fee post. Even if you pay it, like, upfront, it still waits until your statement cuts. So it's not an immediate thing, but it's within 1 to 2 statements, at the most, as long as you do it as soon as you get that card, so you
Hmm.
can still use those for late summer travel. I just did that with my husband, and we just got our points yesterday. So
Nice. That's so
so
exciting when those bonus miles drop into your account.
I love it, I love it. And I think those cards are definitely going away because American signed an exclusive agreement with Citi, so that card is not gonna be around forever. I have heard that those cards will get transferred over to the Citi, or not Aviator, the Citi Advantage card, so that will
Hmm.
get changed at some point in the future, so it's one get now while it's still available.
Good call.
And, the last card that would be great for summer travel is one that we talked about last week. I have to mention it again, and that's the Chase Sapphire Preferred card because it does have that amazing 100,000 point welcome bonus at the time of recording, and that bonus can be pulled or get changed at any point. So whenever you're listening to this, make sure you're checking Chase's website or upgradedpoints.com for the most recent bonus. But at the time of recording, 100,000 points for one credit card sign-up bonus, and that's 100,000 Chase points.
So good.
I mean, so good. Those you can't beat that. So
And it's
that is another one.
$95 annual fee. Nothing crazy.
Yeah, it's a super reasonable card. It makes sense for a lot of travelers, and 100,000 points is worth so much, and that's one of those where you can get that now if you can complete the minimum spend, which I think is $5,000 in 3 months
Yeah.
if I'm remembering correctly. If you can complete that spend relatively quickly, you can get those points and still be able to book travel for that late summer, early fall time period. And to give you a quick idea, you can find category one off peak, which is 3,500 points per night. You could book 28 nights with that one sign on bonus, which is just bananas.
Bananas.
You can fly to Europe in business class. You can very often find seats for 60,000 points. Transfer those points to Aeroplan, for instance, and 60,000 points will get you business class from the US to Europe. We've even seen on Virgin Atlantic, which is another transfer partner, as low as I think it's like 29,000 we saw
Hmm.
somewhat recently. Now that particular price is not common, but it's
Yeah.
out there.
And it's
So
out there
you
and a little bit more cash. So it's, I mean,
yeah,
the
yes, yes,
aeroplane
yes.
could make more sense to some people, but no,
Absolutely, absolutely.
29,000.
But I mean, no matter how you slice it, those 100,000 points are just wonderful. And even
Yeah,
for just domestic travel, if you just want to fly a couple states over, United often has sales where you can find domestic flights for 5,000 points.
it's true. You don't have to go
Oh,
across the world to have a good summer vacation.
absolutely, absolutely. So those are the 3 cards I would recommend if you want to get in on some late summer travel with credit cards right now. Okay, Chris, one question for you. Do you have any advice for families, again, looking to avoid those high prices on summer travel, especially when you get into like July and August? It's that peak travel time, especially for families, because we're all trying to squeeze in those trips before school starts.
Yeah.
What advice would you have for families in that situation?
Yeah, I know a lot of us are kind of stuck to that, trapped in that school schedule, and that just means that you have less flexibility and more competition for flights.
Hmm.
So, when addressing the competition, your best option is going to be start early. So, this means, unfortunately, planning last summer for this summer or start planning this summer for next summer. But I understand that is not always feasible for many people. So your next option is to just be flexible. And so if your dates aren't flexible, maybe that means that your destination has to be flexible, or how you get there is flexible. So recently we posted on Upgraded Points just in the past couple of days. Domestic flights as low as 4,000 miles with Alaska, going to Hawaii for 7,000, Southwest for 2,500 points. So these are all points that you can transfer from. So Southwest, you could transfer from Chase, 2,500. That's a round trip, 5,000 mile flight. You could bring the whole family
And
and
still
book
have
a couple
points
of
left
hotel
over.
rooms.
Right.
Exactly, have points left over. If you want to go abroad, we just yesterday posted a business class deal to Europe for 45,000 miles. So there
Wow.
are still deals out there, but you need to be flexible. You need to follow the deal. You can't say, okay, I'm going to Paris on, July 4th, but everyone's going to be traveling on the 4th of July. So it's going to be tough. But if you can be flexible at all with your destinations or your timing or how you get there, there are deals to be had. If you want to start searching for hotels on your own, we love tools like Rooms.Aero, Max My Point, Point Yeah. All of these programs will show you what's available at saver levels. So you can go there and say, hey, I want to go to Hawaii. I'm going to type in Hawaii and it's going to show you all the different hotels and what their costs are and how you can transfer points there. So it may not be easy, but it is definitely doable. All right, let's jump into some reader questions, some listener questions. Mark just DM'd us on Instagram and he asks, do you ever pay cash instead of points? And if so, when? Katie, do you want to tackle that?
So yeah, I absolutely sometimes buy flights with cash instead of points. And when I do is when the points value is just too low. So I like to look at whatever flight I'm using, whatever currency I'm using, I look at the cash cost versus the cost in points or miles. I do a bit of quick math to see what cents per point I'm getting. And I kind of have an idea of the cents per point that I want to get, but we do have a valuation article on upgradedpoints.com that we can link to. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, go ahead and look in there and it'll give you sort of the baseline of what you can expect, the value you can expect from different types of points. So to give you an example, I fly American Airlines a lot. If I do the math and I'm getting like a cent per point on an American Airlines flight, I am buying that in cash all day long. I do not use my American Airlines miles for less than I try to do less than 2, but some every once in a while, like 1.5, I'll do it. But, it's one I know I'm always gonna get more value than 1 cent per point. So in that instance, I just pay for my flight, I earn points, and I move on with my day. Also, if the cash cost is just really low, sometimes I'll just, it's not worth dipping into my points. And it also depends on what currency I'm looking at. Some are easier to replenish than others. And where, again, American Airlines is one of those right now. It does not have any transfer partners. So you're only earning those through, flying or American Airlines shopping or credit cards. Might be a little harder to earn those than, say, a airline that I can transfer points in from American Express. So cash cost is low. A lot of times I will just pay that in cash and use that as an opportunity to earn points. In the same vein, if there's like an Amex offer for a flight where I'm going to save, whatever, 50, 100, $200, and it brings that cash cost low where the points aren't just really valuable in that situation, again, I will pay cash. And then it happens to the best of us. If I don't have enough points, I will pay
Mm-hmm.
cash. And that's happened
Womp
actually a couple
womp.
of times, I know, with Southwest, where it's one of those programs I don't find value in transferring my Chase points to Southwest. So if I don't have enough points, I will just pay cash and use that as an opportunity to earn points. So yes, if you pay cash sometimes, that is totally cool. There are some people in this hobby that are in the hobby to pay the least amount of money possible for travel, and they don't necessarily care about getting that outsized value. And if that's you, that's okay to always want to use points. There's not a 100% right or wrong answer all the time. So just kind of get an idea of what you want from your points and miles. And if sometimes that means paying cash, that's totally cool. And if sometimes it means paying points, awesome, even better. So yes.
Well
Okay, I
said.
hope that answered your question. I
That
didn't just
was
go on a rant there about my strategy. Okay, so we have another question. And Chris, I'm going to ask this one for you. Angela emailed us and she said, "What is your go to strategy for keeping kids entertained on long flights?"
that is a great question, and it feels like a question that parents have been battling with for ages. I think it really comes down to the age of the children. So, for example, when my kids were younger, our biggest focus was toys, snacks, and I actually saw a recent one, painter's tape, and I can agree. I My kids play with it at home when I'm painting at home. We rip off a little piece of that blue tape, and it's incredible what something silly like that can distract a kid with. But um, pretty much just books and toys and things like that for the younger kids. Now that my kids are getting a little bit older, their interests are changing. So lately, it's been books and tech, and maybe a deck of cards. But the most important thing, and I will not stress this enough, snacks. We always have a snack bag. We say it's for the kids, but it's really for me and my wife because no one wants to have a hangry parent trying to deal with some hangry kids. So, as long as we get a snack bag, I think most people are going to be happy.
We also have snack bags. I have a slot in my travel backpack that always has food in it, always has
Yes.
snacks. And like you, that's for me. My
Yeah.
daughter rarely wants to have anything to do with it. I have an 11-year-old and it's iPad all the time. Like if you can get your kid to play with a deck of cards, man, you deserve an award. Because my daughter has her iPad in her backpack, and the minute we even come close to the airport, she's, can I get the iPad out?
I know.
And,
Well, we like, yeah.
when she was younger, we tried to really limit her iPad time, but even when she was, 5, 6, we started letting her use the iPad on the airplane, and we flew back from one time from Venice to Philadelphia when she was 5 in business class. She laid on that chair and watched My Little Pony on her iPad for 8 hours straight, and she still talks about that.
Hey,
So, yeah,
everyone enjoys it differently, right?
yeah, there's no problem with iPads on
No,
airplanes.
not on an
Just
airplane.
yeah,
No
it's
judgment.
all
No
good.
judgment
Yep.
zone here.
Not at all. Not at all. Well, I think that does it for us this week. If you are liking the podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. That really helps the show, especially now that we are a brand new show, so that really helps us out. And if you have questions or comments for us, you can reach us at podcast@upgradedpoints.com. We'll see you next week.